Hey guys, Sierra Bailey here with Accel Commercial Real Estate. The video you're watching ties into our event in June, Accelerate. If you want to learn more about what you see today, scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description to get your tickets now before early bird pricing runs out. Enjoy the video.
So the question is, what different assets can you buy?
Right. See, I'm basically the question is it exclusive to real estate, or can you use a deferred sales trust in the midst of like transferring money between other assets?
Okay,
Besides real estate?
so here's the deal, and I know a lot of you do something other than real estate. So an eligible asset that you can use, that you can sell to create a deferred sales trust is generally anything that would create a capital gain, except for publicly traded stocks. You can't take your stock portfolio and sell it to the trust. So, but private companies, small businesses, so obviously real estate businesses, and with business brokers, it's a big thing because, and Brian and Jana know this because they're in the business, have this conversation all the time with a business owner. Well, I would sell my business. I'm ready to do that, but I'm not going to because I don't want to pay that tax, right? And I say, well, what if you didn't have to pay the tax right now? You could defer it. Well, then absolutely I would do that. I just didn't know there was such a thing, is what I hear all the time. So you can sell a business, professional practices. I'm talking to a physician right now that's selling his practice that didn't want to sell because of that exact reason. He didn't want to write a check for $2 million to the IRS day one. He said, I'll just keep it and keep working, and I'll put somebody in there to kind of run it for me. But now that he knows he doesn't have to write that check, he's like, well, I'd rather do that, right? I'd rather see if I can't sell it and let's invest that money. We're in Nashville, song portfolios, okay? Huge, working on one right now for a songwriter that has $5 million worth of copyright in their song portfolio that would generate capital gains, right? But when they sell that, so 100% works for this. And instead of taking that money, paying $1.5 million to IRS and trying to invest the rest, invest the entire $5 million and generate an income for you off of that. Or interesting one, just to show you how wide the possibilities are. Got a client that I've known for 20 something years, and he has a unbelievable car collection. We're talking cars, one-of-a-kind cars that there's not another one in existence. Vehicles that are, he's got a 56 Ford pickup truck that has 5 miles on it. Wow. Literally has never been driven. And he's got one of these big auction houses that has been bugging him for years to let them sell these cars. And it's millions upon millions of dollars. And he always hoped that his kids would love cars as much as he does, and they would love his collection, and they've got no interest in these cars. And he's finally accepted that. He's denied it for a whole lot of years, and he finally, here the last couple months, he accepted that they don't care about these, and he's getting older, and he wants to go ahead and sell them. So we're going to do this with his car collection. Because his tax bill, just to give you an idea, $3.5 million is just what his taxes would have been on the sale of this collection that he's got. $3.5 million. He wasn't all that excited about that.
I have my adoption papers with me.
Yeah. And you love cars, right?
Yeah.
You love cars.
Yeah, I love cars too.
Yeah. And artwork, collectibles of just about any kind. So again, anything that would generate a capital gain. Now, in the real estate and in the business space, if you've got depreciation that's other than straight line, okay, so you've got 1245, you've got accelerated depreciation, that can't be, you can't defer that gain in the deferred sales trust. You're going to pay that part of the tax. Michael, you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm writing it down, yeah.
So the IRS is, they got this much compassion for you, but that's where they draw the line. They say if you did any accelerated depreciation, you're not deferring that. And that even goes for other deferral strategies. So that's one kind of, this comes out, you're paying that no matter what. The recapture, because recapture is ordinary income, right? Not capital gains. And again, we started with the premise that anything that generates a capital gain, we can do this with. Well, recapture is not capital gain, so you can't do it. It doesn't work. So if you've got any of that, you'll have the tax bill for that, which generally isn't a huge part of your overall tax bill. So some of the possibilities, and there's a million others, generally it could be just about anything that's a capital asset that generates a capital gain. So anyways, that's the nuts.
Yeah, I've got a two-parter for you. So
All right.
the first one, why do you think deferred sales trusts are still relatively unknown? And then the second part is there any type of political pressure on deferred sales trusts like there are 1031s right now?
So the question is, why are deferred sales trusts still generally unknown? Is there any pressure on them, kind of like there is in 1031? So the reason is from being relatively unknown. They've been around for a couple of decades, so it's not a new concept. Just like I do a lot of self-directed retirement investing for people, buying real estate and IRAs, and that's not new. I've been doing it myself for 16 years, right? But it's just now getting to be where people are. It used to be you ask 100 people and 0 knew about it. Now you ask 100 people and 5 of them know about it. So it's become a little bit more well known, but still not very. So it hasn't become mainstream.
Any political
There's
pressure
no
on it?
political pressure on it because they would have to undo essentially installment sale treatment, which is one of the most longstanding, rules, well established, always. Rarely, I don't know if I've ever seen any discussion about attacking that, because that's kind of the basic of that goes to the whole concept of taxation, right? To say, we're going to tax you on something you didn't receive, you didn't constructively receive it, you can't get it. I think it'd be Armageddon. So know that there hasn't been pressure on that, because that's essentially what they would have to do, is do away with installment sales, because this is what it's all about. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go back to chapter 1,
All right.
and I'm asking for a friend. But this is all relative to the 2-year contingency, is that correct? Is like
2-year
you pay
contingency.
capital gains on 2 years. If you own the property for 2 years, you avoid capital gains. So this is,
No, okay. So the question is this tied to the 2-year contingency? You're talking about a principal residence.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, this has nothing to do with it. You do not want to do, so the principal residence exclusion, 250 if you're single, 500 if you're married, is the only last freebie in the tax code.
Gotcha.
And you never want to do anything to mess that up. I got people that say, well, I want to do a 1031. No, you don't. You don't want to do 1031. You want to leave it just the way it is, take that free money and move on. Now, if you're selling a house and your gain is $2 million, right? And I'm working with one in California actually right now that is $2.5 million. Well, he's going to do this because he says, yeah, I get a free 500, but on the rest, it's still capital gains. And so we're going to do this. Now, if you've got a principal residence and your gain is $2.5 million, that's awesome.
It's a good problem to have.
It happens. It does happen.
Is there any minimum gains that really wouldn't make sense to do this strategy? Like, I got people flipping houses all the time,
Yeah.
making 10K, 30K. 60K.
Yeah. So the question is there kind of a baseline minimum for doing this? And generally, the answer I tell people is usually about 500,000, to where it becomes where it's financially feasible. Because there's a lot of work that goes into setting one of these up, and there's a certain amount that it costs to do it. And if the cost to set it up is approaching what you're going to pay in taxes, then of course there's no reason to do it. So the 500,000 is just an arbitrary line, but that seems to make sense. So at 500,000 and up, if you're generating a gain like that, is where it makes some sense to do it.
Right.
And of course, the bigger the gain, the more sense it makes,
Yeah, right.
because you can do more with that IRS money.
Nick,
Kind of back to the previous question about distributions. So say you have 5 million in there and you want to take out 5,000 a month, but your investments are only, allowing you to really hit 4,000, can you just tap into the principal and then erode the value of the trust?
Yeah, so the question is, if you've targeted a certain amount that you want to get paid out of the trust, and the investments you're making are not quite doing it, can you tap into the gain, the principal, and just pay tax on? The answer is yes. Yeah, we can redo, after we've made the investments, if it looks like, things have changed, it's not quite matching up, but you need more, but your investments aren't making as much as what you thought, then you can start taking some principal, and you pay the capital gains on whatever you take out. But then, of course, you've got less to invest, and you could even do that if you needed to for a while, and then you might say, hey, things are better. I want to stop doing that. Let's change it back to just sending me the income. Jana?
Would the tax that you pay on that be at the rate that you would have paid at the time of the sale of property? Or is that the rate gonna be based on when you actually take that money out?
So the question is the rate you pay if you're going to take out the gains or some of the principal capital gains, is the rate what you would have paid originally when you sold the asset, or at the time you take it? It's at the time you take it. It's whatever your current marginal rate is at that time for capital gains. Whatever that happens to be that year is what you're going to pay for any part that you take out. And there's some planning around that too. I've got folks that will do that. Maybe they're generating a big loss, right, in a certain year, and they'll decide that year to maybe take some to shelter it, right?
Well, other than just the cost of setting one of these trusts up, why would you not do this versus 1031?
So the question is, why would you not just do this instead of a 1031? Really just the cost, right? But also, some people choose it. I mean, it is an alternative to a 1031, but it's also a complement to a 1031, because somebody might decide, hey, I want to buy more real estate, right? Which I can do in a 1031, but I also want to buy a business. You can't do that in a 1031, right? So if you've got plans, if your plan is to sell a piece of real estate and buy a piece of real estate and the numbers match up and that's what you want to do, then you're probably not going to want to go through all of this to do this, because the 1031 is perfectly fine for that. But if you're not sure you're going to buy real estate, or you don't want to do it on the 1031 time schedule, those constraints, or you want to do something in addition to real estate that you can't do in the 1031, then the deferred sales trust is kind of perfect for allowing you to do all of the above. You can do real estate, you can do a business, you can do traditional investing, you can do whatever.
I'm curious if this would make sense to add to that, is 1031, you can defer the depreciation recapture at ordinary tax rates, which you can't do with this option.
Correct. So the comment was that you can't, when we just talked about not being able to defer. Now, the accelerated depreciation recapture, you cannot defer, but regular straight line, you can still defer it in the deferred sales trust. Just the accelerated that you can't.
Yeah. For most real estate investors, I'm sure they're after the bonus depreciation.
Yes. Yep. So there's that.
I just had a general 1031 question,
Right.
I don't believe related to this specifically, but I've received a few different answers on this. I'm hoping for some clarification. If I have a residential property that I own myself as an individual, I want to 1031 that into a commercial property via partnership. Is that possible?
Yeah. So the question is, if I own a residential property and I want to do 1031, can I do it into a partnership? So it can't be deeded to a partnership, because partnership interests are personal property and you have to buy real estate. So you would be a tenant in common with somebody else. So partnership by a different name, right? So, but it's not a partnership as far as ABC partnership is who takes title to the property. It's Joe and Mike that take title to the property, and if they want to own it together as a partnership, that's fine. But it has to be direct deeded to you to make the 1031 work. And I get that question all the time. Well, I'm going to go in one of these syndications and I'm going to invest in this LLC that owns the property. You can't do that because LLC interests are not real estate. They're personal property. The whole thing fails.
Thanks for watching this video. If you like what you see, be sure to follow our Generational Wealth Learning series. On select Thursdays, we offer cutting-edge industry information that would normally cost thousands of dollars. And the best part, our education is absolutely free. If you register through our events page, you can join us live, either in person or over Zoom. In the meantime, like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss a beat.